Warm welcome, please, for William Davies.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I remember when Billy first broadcast this, and I said, that's a lovely tune. And he said, well, it's not all mine. I pinched it from a Swedish folk song. It just goes to show the honesty of the man. He was an absolutely brilliant gentleman, and he wouldn't take full credit for something that wasn't his. But here's his impression of Song of the Fir Tree. Piece of music now by Newell Chase. This is one of Billy's favourites, I know, with his sextet. I don't know, I suppose many of you remember his Sunday morning programme called Hello There. I think it was 9:30 to 10:30 on the Light programme. Shows how many years ago that was, doesn't it? But I remember him playing this particular piece, Midnight in Mayfair. also that Billy had a tremendous admiration for Thomas Fats Waller. He used to play quite a number of Fats tunes. I don't know how many of you know that Thomas Fats Waller was the son of a Negro Baptist minister in Louisiana. And originally it was ordained that he should follow in his father's footsteps. But Thomas found he could enjoy life and make a lot more money playing piano in downtown speakeasies. And whilst he may have been a loss to the church, who knows? He certainly wasn't a loss to music because he left a legacy of wonderful tunes. And here, two of my favourites sung. after Billy had died, I was selected by the BBC to take part in this memorial concert to his memory and his music. And it was the London Studio Players Orchestra, conducted by Reginald, and we played an hour's tribute to Billy. Some of the stuff I had never met until the afternoon, including amongst which was his Balearic episode, the full version for piano and orchestra. And it really was quite a headache, because I spent about a half an hour down in the studio on my own whilst the orchestra went for a coffee break, and then we managed to get the thing in the can when they came back. But sadly, they never published the whole work, as far as I can see. I was on to Keith Prowse 4 or 5 years ago. They've only published the theme from the Balearic episode. I don't know how many of you know this as well. Well, you're probably teaching my grandmother to suck eggs. But Billy chose the Balearic episode for the two islands, the two Balearic islands, Mallorca and Minorca. So one section of it is in the major, and the next section is in the minor. They only ever published the Mallorcan bit, and I can't for the life of me remember back that far, but I tried to interpolate a little bit of the Minorcan melody in the middle of it somewhere. As I was mentioning a moment or two ago, the signature tune for the program Hello There went like this. It was called Look Lively. The nearest incursion I have this afternoon into something bordering on classical music is a little humoreske by Felix Swinstead, who was a great friend of Billy, and it could have really been written by Billy if you think in this context, because it's quite light. Humoreske by Swinstead. Another contemporary, of course, of Billy was Reginald King. Reginald King had his own orchestra, and he was a brilliant pianist, of course. And I will remember hearing Billy's arrangement for his sextet of this next piece, Lilacs in the Rain. In 1949, I wrote a little piece of music called Stampede, and I was thrilled to bits when I heard Billy do an arrangement for his quartet, not the sextet in this case. And I can't obviously copy the other three instruments, but Here's the piano solo version. Charity begins at home, so I'm including my own skills. Contrast again now. Man in Sherwin, who wrote that beautiful piece in conjunction with Eric Matritz, and Nightingale sang in Berkeley Square. But the interesting thing about Carroll Gibbons, of course, is that he published this little piece that I'm going to play, Moonbeams Dance, 3 years after Billy had published Marigold. And those of you who are pianists will remember the consecutive fourths that Billy has in Marigold. And so on. And it's very similar style, still in the same key, B flat actually.
Yeah.
So whether Carroll intentionally plagiarized it, which we'll never know. But you all perhaps remember his signature tune and his first lovely romantic piece, Garden in the Rain, but first of all, On the Air, which went... I think this one will be the last one before we have a break for a refreshment. James Moody, remember the name?
Yes.
He was a nice Irishman. Same vintage, of course, as Billy. And he had a trio, apart from being a brilliant solo pianist, he had his rhythm trio, and I will remember hearing him during the war, first time he came to my notice, with his trio, playing music while you work, which would be 10:30 in the morning, with just piano, bass, and drums. And his signature tune that he used in those days was Church Mouse on a Spree. And when I eventually got a copy, it says composer Frank Froeba. And I wondered who the heck Frank Froeba was. And then I met him, Jimmy, one day in the canteen at Mayerl, and I said, "Tell me, who is this Frank Froeba?" He said, "You're looking straight at him." Church Mouse on the Spree. I trust you're all watered, refreshed, and done what you had to do in the interval. Right, part the second coming up. Yes, what have we got to? Oh, yes. Transatlantic Lullaby. It's a lovely old tune which I remember Billy enjoyed playing. And here it is. Geoffrey Wright wrote it. Wright wrote... Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, sorry. Two people have asked me, was I going to play any more Fats Waller in the second half? And the answer is yes. I've got to find the music for one of them. First one is going to be my very good friend, the Milkman. And then one perhaps that some of you may not know. It's a piece called Dyger's Stomp. Do you know it?
Yes.
He wrote it in 1927 and recorded it in Trinity Church, New Jersey. It was originally for the organ, but he did a piano record version of it. So I've taken it down. It was never published, as far as I can find out from PRS. So I had a tape, and I transcribed it in my own shorthand. And then, what's the last one? Oh, the last one, the inevitable, of course, Alligator Crawl. Now back to Billy. Autumn Crocus. And then a piece which he wrote, what is the date on there? 1957. Maids of Honor. This was when he sort of got around to his more classical romantic state. It's a tempo de minuet antica. It's a delightful little piece for full orchestra, really. And it transcribes, I think, rather nicely to the piano. Oh, and then, of course, we come to Ace of Hearts. The story about this was that I was doing a broadcast and of Billy's music and saw him in the control room in Mayfair. And after I finished part of the thing, I played Ace of Hearts. And I looked up in the control room and there was Billy scowling. I thought, oh dear, I'm in for it, you know. Because what had happened, I put in a couple of little interpolations of my own in this Ace of Hearts, you see. So when the program with red light went off and I went into the control room, expecting to get a rocket, see? And Billy said, "You rotten swine." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Why the hell did you play it like that before I published it?" Which I thought was praise indeed. Another contemporary, of course, was Stanley Black.
Oh, yes.
I don't know how many of you remember Ira Watt and Dave Kay.
Yes, yes.
Right, the original Tiger Ragamuffins with Harry Roy in his band. And when they decided, Morton and Kay decided to go on the halls, Harry Roy was looking for two more pianists to take their place. And it just so happened that he found Black and White. Stanley Black and Norman White, who, that was their real name, of course, and I think Stanley's real name is Schwartz. What's he knows between friends. But I've worked with Stanley over the years, many, many times, of course, in broadcasts, and of course when he was music director for ABC Films at Elstree there. And I must remember, must tell you a lovely story that happened up there. Stanley was the #1 conductor and arranger and composer for a lot of British films. And at that time, Louis Levy was the head man of British film music. And Peter York was his arranger. Stanley Black used to conduct a lot of the stuff. One time they had Honeysuckle, who wrote some classical music for a film. I can't remember the name of the film now. But of course, Honeysuckle is a very well-known, very respected classical composer. And Louis Levy was rather ignorant, to say the least. And he was up in the control room at Elstree Studios there, and we had the full symphony orchestra. And Leo Honeysuckle was conducting his stuff, you see. And Louis Levy was up in the box, and Stanley Black was standing near the piano, near me, and he went like this. Because Louis Levy put down the talk back, and he shouted, "Honeysuckle! Mr. Levy, yeah?" Anyway, this is a piece by Stanley. It was written in 1951, so it must have been about the time Billy was back on the BBC, of course. It's called Busy Boy. There's one turn here, darling, that's all. I have it there like that. Sunday is holiday. Put it all out on a row. I think that should be okay now. Right. Thank you very much. Do you remember the name Arthur Young? Yes. He was the man with the Nova chord. Remember that? It was the first electronic keyboard, really, that was incorporated. I think it was Oscar Reagan's band.
Oh, yeah.
Directed by Harry Davies, Harry Davies, and Arthur Young was the pianist. And they brought this Nova chord over from America, and it produced all sorts of wonderful, hitherto unknown sounds. It was the forerunner of the Hammond, really. But Arthur was an absolute exponent of it. But he was also a brilliant pianist. And here's one little novelty piece that he wrote in 1939 called Evening in Paris. Oh, back to Billy again now. We've got a nice little selection here, if I can find them. Yes. Not funny ha-ha, but funny peculiar. And then Bats in the Belfry. A little previous, I think, Evening Primrose. And I couldn't leave this one out, but Sweet William. Bats in the Belfry. 38 and 86. somewhere along the line. I don't know. Yes, it should have been in the first half, actually. Still better late than never. Fred Hartley, I didn't do it, did I? No. 3 in the afternoon. Actually, he used the pen name Iris Taylor. But I don't know why. He was a brilliant viola player as well as a fantastic pianist. But a Scotsman from Dundee. He couldn't help that. And he was, of course, the man responsible solely for introducing music while he worked during the war. And he it was, of course, that eventually persuaded Billy to come back on the staff of the BBC, which was a signal for Fred then to retire, which he did from active playing with his sextet. Fred was an even bigger taskmaster than Billy. I remember because he used to have, it was a novelty quintet that he had 2 violins, a viola, cello and bass, and himself on piano. And he did all the arrangements, of course, and he used to go into the control room box in the studio and conduct them from inside the glass goldfish bowl, as we call it. And he would have the orchestra play the part before he would deign to go out and play the piano part with them. He'd make sure they got their part right before he would go out and put his part on it as well. Billy was not like that, they all mucked in together, right from the word go. But Fred was, as I say, a very hard taskmaster. Brilliant arranger, and some of his stuff that he did for Itmar, for instance, with Dr. Gordon Jacob, and that ilk, special arrangements of the Galloping Matron and songs like that, and the Irish Washerwoman, Fill the Fluted Ball, and I always remember I said I was going to play Fill the Fluted Ball, his arrangement of Fill the Fluted Ball, and he said, well, that's how very singular.
But why did he call himself Iris Taylor?
It was a pen name that he adopted just for this one piece, because at that time he was going into more serious type of writing, and this was a little thing that he just threw off. And he thought it was rather in for a dig, Of course, everybody knew that Iris Taylor was Fred Hartley, defeated the object, really. we go for time? Yes, I think we're almost out of time. Yes, on a little light relief now. Wimbledon fortnight. You'll see why in a moment. Many moons ago, I went to the Savage Club with the late Jack Byfield, the late Max Jeffer, and the late Reginald Kilby. After a broadcast one evening, and we were down in the Savage Club, and who should be sitting in the other end of the... Oh, I better come back into vision, isn't I? Okay, I'm sorry about that. Might get carried away. You know? There are those who say you should be. Yes, we were in the Savage Club, and there in the corner was Benno Mazevich. Well, for my little money, I thought perhaps he must be the greatest Chopin exponent of his time. And he was sitting skulking in the corner, and Jack Byfield, who knew him extremely well, called him over. And he came over, staggered over, with a better expression. He'd just consumed a bottle and a half of brandy, because he'd lost £5,000 on the horses that afternoon. And he wasn't a very happy man. And so Jack called him over, and there's a beautiful Bosendorfer piano in the Savage Club. So Jack called him over and said, "Come on, Benno, come and sit down at the piano and play some Chopin and get it out of your system, you know." Benno said, "No, you cannot play tonight. I have too much brandy." And then he looked at me and sort of fixed it. He said, "You will play Chopin for me." Oh, summoned to the feet of the master. See? So I played this, what would you like? It was the Chopin waltz in C sharp minor. Well, I'm not going to play it for him now, but this is en passant. And so I played it for him. And at the end he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "My boy, that was just as Chopin wrote it, but it was not music." He then proceeded to give me a lesson in front of everybody else on the hidden melodies in Chopin. I'm sure Eric probably is aware of this story and probably knows the sequel. In the middle part there, of course, just play this little tiny bit here. And so on, see? But then I said, "No, you accent the thumb first time round, and then the thumb of the left hand second time round, because you have to have a separate counter melody there." I mean what? So, anyway, after that, so Jack said, "Well, now you're feeling better, Benno, come and play some Chopin for us." He said, "My right hand is asleep. My left hand, very good, very good. Tell the steward to fetch me an orange." So, steward, an orange for Mr. Wizard. Fine. Off he ran. Comes back a couple of minutes later with a glass of orange juice. Benno knocked it out of his hand. "Idiot, I said an orange, an orange." He brought the orange, you see. He got hold of it like this. "The left hand, as I say, is very good. The right hand has gone to sleep, but I will play for you as the Black Key Study." Well, probably remember it's a thing that goes like this. And so on. See? Well, he couldn't do the right hand, so he just did the left hand, which is absolutely perfect there. And he rolled up the orange up and down. Well, as you might imagine, he was rather heavy-handed, and after the first 2 pages, the orange disintegrated all over the keyboard. So, in deference to Mike's piano, I bought a tennis ball instead. As I said, that was a little diverse. I didn't know what it was called. I remember hearing it during the war, played by Khrushchev. And I was so intrigued, I went into, this was in Weston-super-Mare, it was at the Winter Gardens there, and I went into the music shop in Weston the following morning, and I said, I don't know what it's called, but Khrushchev played it as an encore last night. It's a little thing that goes like this. And the girl behind said, oh yes, I know, that's a Mouvement Perpetuel by Balearic. So I got a copy of it, and of course I fell in love with it, I've loved it ever since. But the interesting thing is, of course, as I say, for would-be pianists amongst you, the first bar is the only one you have to learn in the left hand, because this is all it is. All the way through. Yeah? But what he does with the right hand is a different kettle of fish. of that gentleman. That's not too big a word to use for Billy. He really was a titan in music, all types of music, not just his own syncopation. And interestingly enough, of course, I always found that in his later life, he tended to become more introspective, perhaps, on his style of music. I mean, some of his later pieces that he wrote for orchestra, for instance. I'm playing one today, Maids of Honor, and that's a delightful little minuetto antica type thing, which reflects his more pensive mood, I think, But I really, sincerely counted a privilege to have known him and been able to work with him. A charming man.
Thank you, Bill.
Pleasure.